Hi, this is Mike Fry, and you are listening to the We Effing Told You So podcast. Today is April 15, 2026, and today's installment is A Tale of Two News Feeds, highlighting the difference between propaganda and news. Recent negotiations in Iran to end the batshit crazy war of choice launched by the demon-in-chief, or Dick, of the United States, lasted 21 hours before being tossed to the wind. By historic standards, it was a tiny attempt at any kind of peace deal in the Middle East. For perspective, the Camp David Accords, organized by Jimmy Carter, went on for 12 days. The Madrid Conference, which was just the tee-up for the Oslo Agreement, lasted 3 days in 1991. Those talks continued for 2 more years and culminated in the Oslo Accords. The Oslo Accords were a series of agreements, the first signed in 1993 and the last in 1995. There are many, many more. There was Camp David in 2000, Taba in 2001, the Arab Peace Initiative in 2002, the Geneva Accords in 2003, Annapolis in 2007. We could go on and on and on, demonstrating that the recent negotiation attempts by the Dick's minions to reach some sort of strong-armed agreement with the country they themselves decided, for no apparent reason, to start carpet bombing were a tiny little blip in the history of Middle East peace negotiations. But reading much of the mainstream press, you wouldn't understand any of that. MSN, Wall Street Journal, and others all in unison referred to the talks, which again lasted less than a full day, as a, quote, marathon. This framing erased all historical context relating to the challenge of achieving peace in the region, along with much of the other context that shows what a careless, reckless, and irresponsible act starting this needless war was. It also makes it sound like the Dick who started the war is working hard to end it, which is demonstrably false. He seems more interested in his own vanity projects like his ballroom and his arch. These supposedly competent and competing news sources, all at the same time and using nearly identical language, put out a grossly inaccurate take on one of the most important news stories that affects the entire world. Them doing this is not a one-off. They do it all the time, which suggests it's no coincidence. It is intentional. It is manipulation. It is propaganda. Here's one more example. Wall Street Journal put out a piece echoed by all the same mainstream sources that said in the subheading, quote, America led a maritime system that enriched the world for decades. Iran's toll booth shattered it, end quote. See? It's Iran's fault that we attacked them, and they should just do whatever we say, even as we carpet bombed their capital city of more than 10 million people. Their headline was actually, quote, the era of free seas is unraveling and now everyone's going to pay, end quote. See? It's Iran raising your gas prices, not the grossly amoral behavior of the sadistic idiots in charge of the United States that these same, quote, news sources continue supporting at every turn. No matter how many people they murder or how much chaos, division, and destruction they cause. Now compare those gaslighting headlines to this one from Reuters, quote, oil surges on U.S. blockade of Iran, end quote. Now, wasn't that straightforward and easy to write, read, and understand? That headline is fewer words, easier to comprehend, and puts the responsibility for the soaring gas prices where it belongs. Given that the mainstream press still pays some credentialed journalists, though nearly all of them have been downsizing their journalist pools dramatically, and these people are paid to understand how words work, We cannot possibly believe their long, convoluted, gaslighting texts in support of the U.S. dickhead are not deliberately designed to mislead those who don't understand history or the broader context of the issues that they're covering. The other option is they don't understand those things themselves, which makes a rational person wonder why they would be covering those issues in the first place. After all, isn't that why they're paid to cover them? After seeing this happening over and over and over, we decided to start putting the, quote, news sources that routinely behave this way in a special feed that we call Propaganda News. We should note that the only social media site that we use to find news is Blue Sky, because the app does not impose any of its own ideology in its users' feeds. It lets users create their own feeds based on their own criteria. It also lets them publish and share their own feeds, which, in our humble opinion, is how a truly open social media network should work. Anyway, on Blue Sky, we now have 2 news feeds. One is of the sources we consider reliable news. It's called Reliable News, and you can find it attached to our profile on Blue Sky. The other is called Propaganda News, and it's also available on our Blue Sky profile. Watching the news unfold each day on these 2 feeds, side by side, the twisting of the stories done by the propagandists becomes even easier to see. We hope you'll check it out and use it to ensure that the sources you use to stay informed are not manipulating you. Thanks for listening. You have been listening to the We Effing Told You So podcast. You can find us on Substack, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and most other places podcasts can be found. Please like and subscribe and share on your social media. And thanks for listening.